Continuing our coverage tonight, the FBI says it is now investigating the funding behind these anti-ICE protests in LA. Some lawmakers fear foreign influence and ideological donations are fueling the violence, and protesters are being paid. The National News Desk, Jeff Harris, joining us. These protests, as you know, they started organically following a massive ICE raid, but they have since taken a turn. You did some digging. Who is behind this funding?
So our researchers found there are two main organizations, Didi, involved in funding these LA protests: the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights and also the Central American Resource Center, both receiving government funding at the federal and also state levels. FBI Director Kash Patel announcing this week the FBI is investigating any and all monetary connections responsible for these riots, following mostly peaceful demonstrations in response to several immigration raids in LA late last week. Anti-ICE protests began escalating. Immigration officers assaulted, vehicles burned, and businesses looted. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons calling it pure chaos.
If you have to watch out for a burnt car, that isn't a peaceful protest.
David Carter, who teaches criminal justice at Michigan State, says funding protests is not uncommon and not all are violent. But the FBI's investigation won't focus on the act of funding, rather the intent behind the money given.
Funding to support illegal activities would be unlawful.
Our researchers found two organizations heavily involved in these protests: the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, who receives nearly $34 million a year in government grants, including private donations from Act Blue, a Democratic fundraising platform. Also, the Central American Resource Center is the second, receiving federal and California state grants along with private funding. President Trump speaking in Fort Bragg Tuesday, saying some protesters are being compensated.
They're incompetent, and they paid troublemakers.
A history professor at Cedarville University, Stanley Schwartz, compares what's happening in LA to the death of George Floyd in 2020. Organic, peaceful protests turning into organized, professional, and violent ones.
The conflict from the very beginning is citizens against law enforcement. So it becomes very difficult then to tamp down a protest as it's becoming more violent.
Now, Just the News also reports the Party for Socialism and Liberation, who has alleged ties to the Chinese Communist Party, were also involved with protests. Carter also telling us the FBI will likely look at infrastructure first to help determine where the funding is coming from. Reporting for the National News Desk, I'm Jeff Harris.